can do that. We're back off mute. And Chair Fiscum, we are working on getting everybody back online now.
Okay, good.
When Molly is ready, we can do a roll call.
Good, do it.
To see who's back and if we have quorum.
Do it.
Okay, Commissioner Health.
Here.
Commissioner McCauley.
Here.
Commissioner Burke.
Does not look like Commissioner Burke is online.
All right, Commissioner Thompson.
Here.
Commissioner Payne.
Here.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez. I don't see.
Looks like he's there on mute.
Oh, yes. Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez, are you there?
Doesn't look like he's back yet.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Jancy.
Here.
Thank you. And Chair Fiscum.
Here.
And that's 6.
That's a quorum. We can proceed.
Yep.
If everybody's ready to proceed.
Okay.
Okay, after our lunch break, I now call the public session of the Oregon Government Ethics Commission on November 14, 2025 to order. We will now proceed through the rest of the public session agenda. The first matter for our consideration involves the consent calendar. Director, am I right in believing that the consent calendar includes items 4 through 14?
You are correct.
Thank you. Does anybody have an item they want removed off the consent calendar? Any commissioner want an item removed off the consent calendar? Hearing and seeing none, Vice Chair, please, consent calendar.
I move the commission approve the consent calendar as presented.
You've heard the motion. Administrator will please call the roll on the consent calendar public session.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Health.
Aye.
Commissioner McCauley.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
And do I see Commissioner Burke?
You're on mute, Commissioner Burke. There you go.
I'm sorry. Aye.
Perfect. And has Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez joined us? Okay. Chair Fiscum.
Aye.
Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, good. That wasn't a motion, but that's okay. That was a roll call, but I'll take your word for it. I like it. Okay, colleague, but that was a motion. That was a motion to approve the consent calendar. Pardon me for losing track of things. The consent calendar now stands approved. So thank you, Administrator. We'll now move to lobbyist penalty reductions. Our Executive Director will deal with items 15, 16, and 17 in order.
Yes. So for item 15, this is a lobbyist request for reduction and waiver. She filed her 2025 Q2 report significantly late, and then 2025 Q3. The recommendation is that for the first violation that she receive a letter of education, and for the second one that the penalty be reduced to $20.
Any questions, colleagues, on that recommendation? Ready for a motion, Vice Chair, please.
I move that the commission approve the staff recommendation on lobbyist penalty reduction as to Mike Ingram.
Thank you. Administrator will please call the roll.
Commissioner Jancy.
Aye.
Commissioner Health.
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 7-0.
Item 16 involving Garrett Mosher. Director, please.
Yes, Mr. Mosher had 3 late filing penalties. The recommendation is no reduction on the penalty for Q4 of 24 because the minimum would be $10 anyway. For Q2 of 25, that it be reduced to $20, and for Q3 of 25, that it be reduced to $30.
Chair, do you have any idea if this fine, subject to its approval by us, would get this gentleman's attention or not?
You know, I think the phone calls from David got his attention at least to make him request the waiver and reduction. So hopefully this will be enough to not let it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Vice Chair, if you're ready, please. Item 16.
I move that the commission approve the staff recommendation on lobbyist penalty reductions for Garrett Mosher.
Heard the motion. Administrator will call the roll, please, on Garrett Mosher, item 16.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye. Aye.
thank you. Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you. Item 17, Director.
Yes, this is a second violation for Q3 of 25. She was slightly late. So as a second violation, my recommendation is to reduce the penalty to $10.
Thank you. You ready for the motion? Any comments, colleagues? Vice Chair, please. Item 17.
I move that the commission approve the staff recommendation on lobbyist penalty reductions as to Kathy Y.
Administrator will call the roll, please, on item 17.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you, colleagues. There are no lobbyist client penalty reductions. There are no statement of economic interest penalty reductions. There are stipulated final orders, which we can approve by consent calendar if we choose to do so. Those 5 items. Does anybody want to pull an item off of that list? Hearing and seeing no takers, we'll ask for a motion from our vice chair on the stipulated final orders, numbers 18 through 22, consent calendar.
I move the commission approve the proposed stipulated final orders presented on the consent calendar as the final orders in those cases, and the chairperson be authorized to sign them as such.
Thank you. The administrator will call the roll, please, on the consent calendar, stip consent calendar.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
Okay, colleagues, on the next item, stipulated final orders, number 23. My understanding is Keenan Elbers from the city of Grants Pass intends to be on Teams. You can let me know when he's online.
Chair Fiscom, we have texted and called Mr. Elbers. We've not gotten a response. We've also left a message.
Okay, well, I think we just ought to proceed. If
I
that's
agree.
okay, Director? Thank you.
Yes.
We'll now hear on this matter a report from our investigator, Mr. Pacheco. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Fiscom and Commissioners. This is Investigator Daniel Pacheco for the record. Agenda item 23 in your meeting books is a stipulated final order for Keenan Elbers, Maintenance Transportation Supervisor for the Benton County School District. On June 13, 2025, the Commission voted to move this case to investigation to determine whether Mr. Elbers had violated provisions in ORS Chapter 204. In the preliminary review report, it appeared that Mr. Elbers had failed to declare a conflict of interest and used his official position when using his district paid contractor's license for his private business and while having the district pay for his business's contractor fees. These benefits were not part of his official compensation package. During the investigation phase, Commission staff were able to verify Mr. Elbers' violations of ORS 244.040 sub 1 and ORS 244.120 sub C. Mr. Elbers has agreed and indicated that he wishes to conclude this matter and has signed the stipulated final order. The order in your meeting books provides that Mr. Elbers will pay a civil penalty in the amount of $100. We are recommending that the Commission approve the stipulated final order. Thank you.
Thank you, Investigator. Any questions for the investigator or anybody else on this matter?
Mr. Chair,
Please, Commissioner Thompson, please.
can you tell us how you arrived at the $100?
Yeah, so we put all that information to our penalty matrix, the financial benefit, the occurrences, but we also did take into account that the board was aware of what was going on, but they just had never established that policy. So we really did take into account those factors into it, and so we wanted to at least recognize that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Any other questions, colleagues? Follow up, Mr. Thompson? I presume not. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, are you ready for motion, Vice Chair?
I am Chair. I
Item
move-
23. Yeah, go ahead.
I move the commission approve the proposed stipulated final order as the final order in this matter, and the chairperson be authorized to sign it as such.
You've heard the motion. The administrator will call the roll, please, on the stipulated final order involving Keenan Elbers.
Commissioner McCully,
Aye.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
Okay, colleagues, forging ahead of the staff advice category, informational letters is, in my judgment, always worth reading. Any comments on any of those letters if you have in fact read them? And my sense is that compared to many meetings, there are a lot of them this time around, many dealing with gift exceptions, et cetera. Any comments on that, Director or colleagues? Thank you. Those are worth reading, colleagues, so please do so. We'll move on to the only other items that require our formal attention. Miscellaneous items, number 38 first, Director.
Yes, so back in, I think this was the one that was in July, we had asked the commission if it wanted to initiate an advisory opinion on its own motion to clarify ORS 192.660 sub 2F, specifically to provide some clarity on verbal legal advice falling under 2F that they would not necessarily, if you were in an executive session and you needed to ask your attorney for legal advice in that executive session, would you need an actual memo or could verbal advice count? And this has come up in a number of different cases. The commission directed me to prepare an advisory opinion for their consideration, and I did prepare an advisory opinion. Advisory opinions require DOJ approval as well. I sent it to DOJ. I think in the process, and Sean can address it as well, but I think in the process, we kind of mutually came to the conclusion that the real answer to the question required us to opine on laws that are not in our jurisdiction. That it's not simply a 19266L question, but it would require us to kind of reach a conclusion about the public records law and the privilege law for legal advice. So that really isn't in our authority to do. We could certainly ask DOJ to do so, but that would be potentially expensive. So I think at this point, the best process is to withdraw the request for an advisory opinion.
I'll entertain questions on that in just a minute. Legal counsel Brady, do you have anything to add to that before we ask questions?
I do not have anything to add. If you have questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them though.
Thank you. Commissioner Halt, please.
Thank you, Chair Fiscom. I'm curious as to what this was in reference to.
So we have had a number of cases where, a governing body is in an executive session and they may be in an executive session under another provision and they ask for advice from their counsel who is present, or they may be in an executive session under 1926602F, and that provision allows you to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public disclosure. Now, if there isn't an actual record, a legal memo or something, and you're just getting privileged legal advice, the question had arisen, does that count under 2F? And I mean, the draft opinion that I had drafted was leading towards saying, well, okay, privileged legal advice is privileged under 40.225, and then under the public records law, sub 192355, sub 9 makes a privileged record exempt. But the problem was reaching the verbal legal advice really wasn't there statutorily.
May I follow up, Commissioner? Thank you. Colleagues, any other questions about this? And I'm going to presume, Director, this needs a motion from us when we're ready.
I couldn't remember if they had voted on a motion or just given me a direction.
We voted on the motion.
Okay, then vote to withdraw.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Any other, thank you for that, Director and Ms. Mason. I appreciate that. Commissioner Halt, one more question, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Fiscom. I'm curious as to how we'll handle this in the future once we withdraw it.
I think we will continue to handle it on a case-by-case basis for now, unless we get to the point when the Attorney General or someone else decides to address the records law itself or the privilege. And that is on a case-by-case basis. If a case comes before us and the argument is made that it falls under 2F, even though there wasn't a legal memo, but the attorney was there providing verbal advice, then it would simply be a matter for the commission to decide on its own if you want to say that that would still fall under 2F.
I would also add that you have rulemaking authority related
We
to
could,
interpretations of law. So
Thank you,
yes,
counsel.
when we do rulemaking next year, we could add a rule to the executive session rules that say verbal advice would be sufficient.
And that kind of advice, however given verbally or in writing, ends up being, help me with these words, a mitigating factor? Is that accurate for us?
Oh, it would be whether it would authorize an executive session discussion, whether it would be authorized under
Okay,
executive session law.
okay. Any other questions, colleagues? Good discussion, thank you. Okay, hearing and seeing nothing, we'll forge ahead to hear a report from our trainers. Who's given that report today? Oh, go ahead,
We
Director.
need,
Oh,
we
the
need a
vote, pardon me.
motion to withdraw.
Okay, Vice Chair, a motion on item 38, please.
I move that the commission withdraw the motion for the commission advisory opinion.
Is that adequate, Director?
Yes.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Any questions on the motion? The administrator will call the roll, please, on the motion regarding item 38.
Commissioner Burke,
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Commissioner Payne,
Aye.
Commissioner Resendez Gutierrez,
Aye.
Commissioner Jancy,
Aye.
Commissioner Halt,
Right.
Commissioner McCauley,
Aye.
Chair Fiscom.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
Thank you, colleagues. We will now turn to what I was going to turn to prematurely, which is the trainer's report. And somebody I know at the end of the table is now giving it. Mr. Brubaker, welcome.
Yeah, for the record, I am Chris Brubaker, and I'm going to give the training report. Basically, this covers the month and a couple days of October. There were about 25 working days total, and we had 33 trainings in those 25 days. So the trainers have been very busy this fall. We also had Susan and Casey on October 17th. They were invited to speak at the Special Districts Association of the Oregon Metro Breakfast. And they presented a Q&A format on public meetings law there that I've heard went splendidly. We also have provided training on public meetings law to approximately 3,865 individuals since launching our training a year ago. So we have reached a lot of people with that training.
Mr.
we also
Brubaker,
been-
one quick question. Does that number include your own trainings, or on top of that, have you added in other trainings which have been approved by you for someone else to dispense?
I'll answer that question, Stephanie Hefner, Curriculum and Training Coordinator. Those numbers are only the numbers of individuals that OGEC has trained. We don't have a mechanism to track who has been trained by other entities such as OSBA or SDAO or LOC, for example.
I thought that was the case, but thank you for clarifying that. Please proceed, Mr. Brubaker.
Yeah. We also have been getting a lot of feedback. We've been providing the opportunity to receive feedback on all of our trainings, but have really pushed it, especially for the public meetings law training as it's newer. And we've been getting a ton of feedback. I know that everyone received this report, but we've been hearing things that, things are clarifying and, that sometimes these laws are confusing, but the trainers are doing a great job of helping people feel knowledgeable when they leave those trainings. We also have a bunch of different graphs that we've provided that just also show the feedback that a lot of what we're doing has been viewed as being excellent by the people who have been joining our trainings. And so that's really good to hear. And we definitely appreciate that and are excited to share that with all of you.
The other thing I would say, and if I'm stopping on your line, I apologize, but I think that document that was done a few weeks ago, the Q&A on the serial public meeting issue was a well done document, and I would just leave it to you to decide when that should be updated, if it should be updated, and how it should be distributed widely. I've used it a few times with people who have asked me questions, and I have found it to be a useful document. I know it was prepared a few weeks ago, so it may need to be updated somehow. Good document, however.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for our training staff? Busy as they are. Okay, we will now move to the executive director's report on page 124 of your packet. Director, please.
Okay, so we're going to start by talking about the legislative work group. So, as you may know, a legislative work group was formed to explore potential legislative fixes, primarily relating to the food and beverage opinion and everyone's angst about adopting policies about food and beverages, and public meetings law, specifically serial communications, though there are some side issues that have been brought up. So the legislative work group is being headed by Representative Nathan Sosa, former commissioner. Other legislators I've listed here in my report. So there are a variety of legislators. There's us and Sean and Dan sit in and ask questions or prompt me to ask questions. There are representatives from the varying associations, LOC, AOC, OSBA, SDAO, etc. The City of Portland, Metro, the City of Salem, various law firms, etc., and interested parties. Tom Holt from the Society of Professional Journalists. They're all there. So, breaking it down on the food and beverage issue, where the work group seems to be headed is, while they could all simply adopt policies and it would be fine under our subsection 2A, they appear to want to simply create a new exception in 244040 that says it's not a violation of subsection 1 for a public official or employee to accept food or beverages provided by their employer. There may be some tweaks on the language. I don't want them to make it so that we then have to determine anything about the value or anything else. I want it to be as clear as possible. So most of the difficult work here is on the public meetings law and serial communication proposals. There are a lot of them. They have proposed, trying to, they keep talking about codifying handy, which really is not the issue, but that basically redefining what counts as deliberation that would somehow allow them to meet and discuss things outside of public meetings. They want to put a knowing and intentional violation language in, which would be impossible for us to, how would we ever prove someone had knowing and intentional violations? Commissioner, I continue calling him Commissioner, Representative Sosa, in the last meeting, he kind of pushed back about some of the language they were adding, specifically about intent and that it, required back and forth communications and everything else. We have another meeting coming up this week to continue the discussions on that specific issue. So the changes they want to make are somewhat problematic. I think they're not as bad as they were to begin with, but they are troubling because any suggestion of creating an intent requirement will make it very difficult for us to ever have the information needed. I mean, none of the laws we've ever enforced have a mens rea requirement. They will also require new rulemaking, rewriting all of the rules that we adopted. They will require the AG to redo the AG manual. So there are concerns. Commissioner Payne?
Thank you, Director. I have a couple questions, but I will yield to my Vice Chair. Let me just ask you one quick question, and then I'll yield to the Vice Chair. Is it, I think it's possible, is it not, that at least a couple of these issues might be lofted in February 2026 in the short 30-day session, as opposed to being held off till 2027? Tell us about that tension.
So I do believe, for the most part, the purpose and intent of the work group is to come up with some language for a bill or bills in the short session. They are planning to get legislative council involved in doing some drafting. Apart from the two issues that I've previously mentioned, there are some other minor issues, maybe not minor, but other issues that we've proposed and others have proposed. And one of those is 192685, amending 192685 to do two things. The first, when 2805 was passed in 2023, no one actually thought about what would happen if the commission received a complaint that you had violated public meetings law.
You meaning us, the commission, had done so.
Yeah. And so right now, under the law, people have the right under 685, under 700 to do the grievance and then file a complaint. But you wouldn't be able to rule on these complaints because all of you would have conflicts of interest. And so one proposal is, my proposal was, how are we going to handle that? We can't, there's not another public agency we can shift this to. So I believe we will propose to add in an exception for the Ethics Commission that complaints that we violate ethics, public meetings law would have to be filed under 192680, which is the existing procedure to go to circuit court and have the court rule. The other proposed change to 685 is to get rid of the requirement that the commission have to dismiss cases filed, complaints, when someone hasn't met the grievance process. So the public meeting law consent calendar cases, where someone files a complaint and either never did a grievance or they didn't do the grievance in time. Right now, the law says the commission shall dismiss, which is why we have to bring it to you. We're proposing making a change, so we simply change that to we don't open the cases to begin with. We did mention, and as I'm sure Chair Fiskin would like us to, a proposal to make it possible for the commission to hold the public body or the governing body as an entity responsible for the technical violation stuff, for things like notice and minutes and, the stuff, so that we don't have to vote, 20 different times to dismiss a case where they did notice their meeting properly. I don't think there's a lot of opposition to that. The dilemma with that is some of the side issues it raises. The legislature might have to do this to give us jurisdiction over public bodies, because right now we don't have any. And then would we have the authority somehow to fine another public body and collect if they don't pay? And there are all these little side issues that raises, but we are at least attempting to solve that problem.
Thank you. Vice Chair, I stomped on your line. I apologize. Please ask your question and make your comment.
Going back to the proposals related to intent, can you clarify what the intent would be related to that they're proposing. Would it be either an intent or sort of knowledge that they're violating the the serial communication provision, or is it that they have to have intent or knowledge that there's a quorum? Or is there some sort, like, what is that sort of relating to? And then I have just a comment that I have had concerns myself about and have expressed several times that I do think there is somewhat of an injustice that one person can begin a conversation with another person where there's no quorum involved, and that is not a violation of the serial communications provision. But then completely out of their control, that another person can end up taking action down the line that then it becomes a violation, but the original person took no action that was a violation, but ultimately it becomes a quorum at some point. And to me, it seems like we're holding the first person liable, or not liable, but we're saying they committed a violation of the serial communications provision when it was really the conduct of others. And so I'm just sort of curious. To me, I don't know that I would be opposed to some sort of knowledge provision that there was at least a quorum involved at some point. But I do agree we don't generally have an intent provision that your conduct is, you don't intend to violate the public meetings laws. And so I agree that doesn't necessarily help us, but it seems to me like knowledge that there would be a quorum might be helpful in this sort of situation.
Yes, so the discussion, to answer your first question, the what is their intent in proposing an intent requirement? Different people have weighed in. The original proposal was kind of clearly a knowing and intentional violation of the law. Like, we are not going to be able to hold them responsible unless we could prove that they knew they were violating the law. I think where the law was originally was, and if there was an intent requirement, it was that the intent was for the purpose of language in the statute, which is that it would be a violation if a quorum gathered to for the purpose of making a decision or deliberating toward a decision. I think they are still discussing sort of the issue raised in your second comment, which is, can we hold the initiator, like one person, responsible when it's 4 different people down the line that eventually did something that created the quorum? So adding some sort of knowledge requirement that a quorum exists or that a quorum is involved in these discussions or communications, I think is still a possibility.
I would just add that I concur with the Vice Chair's comments in regard to the fact that I guess I would say it this way. In a couple of 2 or 3 issues we have dealt with in recent months, it struck me that some individuals on a council or commission or whatever were trapped by a quorum, even when they didn't intend there to be a quorum that they were involved in. And I know the word intent is always a stumbling block for us. I understand that. And so I've tried to think of words other than the intent. If somebody had an avowed perspective to go achieve a quorum, that's one thing. But if somebody who didn't intend to achieve a quorum had a discussion, that person, that council member or that public official might end up being trapped by a quorum. Director, you understand the issue that I've raised with you and that the vice chair has raised, and I don't know what the answer is, except it's an issue I think that needs to be resolved. It strikes me that this is a bigger issue than can be handled in 30 days. So it may need to be a 2027 issue. The 26 issue is going to be all wound up in DOT funding and Medicaid cuts, and it'll be hard to find. Representative Sosa may be able to do it, but it'll be hard to find of a platform to move forward. That's his issue, not ours. But all I wanted to say was I agree with the vice chair's concerns. Commissioner Halt, please.
Thank you, Chair Fiscom. I want to agree with the knowledge. I think knowledge is the right word as opposed to intent, in my opinion, because these people do not have knowledge that there is a serial meeting. The person that is reaching out to each one of them knows, but the others do not know. And so I think that the knowledge is really the thing that changes. But really, other than that, the serial meetings law is pretty clear. I don't think that there's much change that needs to be made to the whole law. I would be worried about opening it up too widely to make it really difficult. I mean, you don't want to make something that's slightly difficult more difficult, because it's pretty clear. Other than the knowledge piece, I struggle with if you don't have knowledge, you're in a serial meeting, you just think your chair is calling you for housekeeping. You've done nothing wrong, right? So that's one that I struggle with. But so I agree with vice chair and chair on that. One of my biggest concerns is about who's responsible for posting the minutes and having the equipment and the ability to do so. Because most people on these boards are volunteers and they're not paid. They may not have the ability to know how to post or capture minutes. They may not have the time. And I'm just not sure how we're putting these housekeeping items on them. Now, what is the responsibility? And I think the intent is very well driven, that we need to make sure the public is aware of what happens in the meetings, and the meetings need to be accessible and posted. And that is 100% true. But whose responsibility is that? And how can you hold somebody accountable for that? That's a volunteer. It seems more like a staff responsibility to me, to get the minutes posted. But what part can we hold a board member accountable for? Like, if you guys don't get these minutes posted correctly, what am I responsible to do? And I think that we have some responsibility to make sure they're posted correctly, but what is that? And I don't think it's actually posting the minutes or making sure the equipment is loud enough for people to hear. I'm just not sure how that is supposed to be relayed by board members. So I'd love to have more clear direction on that. Thank you.
I understand that. And I think the goal is that if we could accomplish being able to hold the public body or the governing body responsible for those potential violations, not only to make our lives easier in terms of our meetings, but because we don't want to suddenly be having to enforce all this against some little clerk at a city or fire district office. It's, as you say, we want to make sure that the public gets the information and is informed the way they're supposed to. We just need a mechanism for ensuring that if they're not, what is the remedy for enforcement? So we are working toward that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions from other commissioners? Commissioner Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, when you mentioned the knowledge piece, I was concerned because how do you prove that? But the more this discussion's gone on, I mean, obviously, I'm just using it as an example. If there's a group of a quorum of people on a text message, they all have knowledge. I mean, they're all in the text message. But we had talked a couple of months ago about the definition of intermediary and how we did that. So, I mean, if I were to call up 4 of my fellow commissioners individually and talk to them and they had no knowledge that I called the others, I, as the intermediary, could be held responsible, but they wouldn't be.
Right now, under the law, every member of the governing body that participates in the quorum, and I do understand that's what causes it. I mean, if they don't know that you have called these other people, they don't know they're part of a quorum. And I think that was somewhat in the city of Salem cases.
Just using a case examples because they're not fun.
That's true. They still have appeal rights.
Be careful,
okay.
Susan. Be careful, Ms. Myers.
Thank you, my legal
You're
counsel.
welcome.
So when a case comes before us, if someone has engaged in serial communications, people can raise the defense that they didn't know that they were part of a quorum, that they didn't know this person was talking to anyone else. And so that is something the commission can consider. But right now, under the law, every member of the quorum is held to have participated if they were part of that quorum.
Because if we clear this up too much, then I'm going to have to start answering Fiscom's phone calls again. Because right now I can just say I don't want to be in a public meeting, so I just don't
want to
call
be
him
part
back.
of a quorum.
Yeah, but if we get this too clear, then I have to start answering his phone calls again.
Yeah, but Commissioner, if I call you, I don't have any idea who else you're calling, so it's your fault, not mine. Vice Chair, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point, right? I mean, right now it's inhibiting those sorts of conversations because it's too dangerous then to have those one-on-one conversations because
Right.
You just don't know what somebody else is going to do, and then you're at the mercy of somebody else's actions on the board, making you potentially subject to a violation of public meetings laws. And I just think that you should be responsible for your own conduct, but I just don't think that somebody else's conduct should cause you to be subject to a violation. That's where I'm having a problem with this. I understand that that's the way that it is right now, and I will uphold the laws as they are currently structured, but I do so with angst and not liking the way that the current law is. So I am just expressing that I would like to fix this issue if possible, and I hope that we can do so.
Agreed, Vice Chair. Thank you for those comments. As I said before, the language that comes to my mind is that somebody could get trapped by the eventual existence of a quorum that neither he or she intended for it to exist. And we've seen that happen before us, and forget the specific cases, but I've had some tension on that, and you used the word angst. I agree with you. Any other comments, colleagues, on this issue before we head toward adjournment? We'll let the executive tell us other stuff on her agenda first, but further comments, anybody? Direct executive, please, other comments or this issue, whatever you want to talk about.
I will keep you updated on where we end up with all of the work group, and I'm still working on coming up with a proposal for the Law Commission to do additional work on the public meetings law. Other matters, Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner McCauley are getting confirmed, I believe, tomorrow? No, Thursday.
Rules Committee's Monday.
Monday. Oh yeah, Monday. Lost track of what day it is. So they are getting confirmed for a second term. Congratulations and thank you. I'd let you briefly know earlier, investigator Lion Gallagher has left. Her last day was earlier this week. We have posted the job posting, and Casey and Becky are working through. We've gotten quite a number of applicants so far. It's been, I think, maybe a week.
50 applicants so far.
Yeah, 50. So we are going through the process to hire a new investigator so that hopefully I don't have to continue writing investigative reports. Reminder for the December meeting is the election of a chair and vice chair. Andy is my executive director review at that meeting. I do know that Becky had sent you all an email asking you to fill out the questionnaire survey, whatever you want to call it. The deadline for doing so has passed. We have left it open because we did not receive a lot of responses from you, though I think we have plenty from the public. But no, I would strongly encourage any of you who did not complete it after this meeting to get online and simply complete it so that Becky can assemble all of your responses as well as the other materials and provide that for you in advance of the December meeting. I think that's all I have. Did I have anything else?
The guide for
Thank
public.
you. Investigator Finchmaker, or go ahead. Go ahead.
So we are required to update the guide for public officials every 4 years. And so that the end of this year is the expiration of that. However, some legislation, the legislation we had in the last session doesn't go into effect until January 1. So we wanted that because it redefines conflict of interest and who counts as giving rise to a conflict, and it creates a new exception in 040. So we wanted to incorporate that into the guide. Casey and Molly have been working on the guide. They have a draft guide. So fairly soon, we will send you the updated guide with the idea that you guys will review it, discuss it at the December meeting, and then can vote to adopt it in January, at which point the new legislation will be there. It's roughly 60 or 70 pages, and it's a lot. So we will send it to you, each of you, in advance of the December meeting to give you plenty of time to look through it.
Good. Any questions for our executive? Any more questions? We've already asked her some, so. Okay, colleagues, anything else for the good of the order? For the record, I want Commissioner Thompson's record to reflect that your wonderful chair adjourned the meeting before the deadline because our agenda said 9 to 2 p.m. and it's before 2 p.m. Commissioner Thompson, you can thank me later if you want. Okay, colleagues, I will see you all, some of you in person on December 12th, our next meeting. Thank you all for your participation today. It's been a good meeting. I appreciate it. Have a nice weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Everyone.
Take care.
I think we should make Kristen come back for the December meeting. We should just all go to California.